Society often tells us that a man needs many friends to be successful. But what if that's a lie? What if the key to unshakable confidence is found in solitude? Today, let's uncover the power of solitude and the illusion of social validation. Before we begin, I'd really appreciate it if you like this video. It helps me keep sharing more important lessons. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend hitting the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Also, if you enjoy this video, please comment 1. If you don't, comment 0 so I know how to improve. Now, let's get started. From the time we are children, we are conditioned to believe that happiness is found in the company of others. We are taught that the more friends we have, the more valuable we are. Popularity is equated with success, and social validation becomes the ultimate measure of self-worth. It starts early, being picked first on the playground, being invited to parties, having a large group of friends in school. As we grow older, this belief deepens. Society praises those who are socially active, those with packed schedules, and those who appear to be constantly surrounded by people. But what if this is all an illusion? The truth is, many people spend their entire lives chasing validation without ever realizing they are trapped in an exhausting cycle. They measure their worth by the number of friends they have, the invitations they receive, or the attention they get. But the more they seek approval, the more they depend on it. They are always performing, always adjusting, always making sure they fit in. Their identity becomes shaped not by who they truly are, but by what others expect them to be. It's a never-ending treadmill, one that never leads to true fulfillment. Social media has amplified this illusion. The average person now spends 2 to 3 hours per day scrolling through platforms, seeking likes, comments, and approval from people they barely know. Every post is carefully curated to present a perfect life, a perfect image, a perfect self. But behind the filters and the captions, there is often emptiness. The momentary rush of validation, when the likes roll in or the comments flood a post, fades quickly, leaving a craving for more. If one post doesn't get enough attention, insecurity creeps in. The cycle repeats: more content, more approval seeking, more dependency on external validation. But the problem with relying on external validation is that it is temporary and fragile. One moment, you're admired. The next, you're ignored. One moment, you feel like you belong. The next, you feel invisible. If your sense of self-worth is built on the opinions of others, then you will always be at their mercy. A single negative comment, a moment of rejection, or an unexpected loss of social standing can send you spiraling. Now, consider this. How many of the people in your social circle truly know you? How many would stand by you during your hardest times? Most friendships are built on convenience, shared interests, workplace connections, or mutual benefits. But when life becomes difficult, many so-called friends disappear. That's because a large social circle does not mean deep emotional support. So, what happens when you stop chasing social validation? What happens when you no longer rely on external approval to feel secure? You become free. Free from the pressure to perform. Free from the need to please everyone. Free to be yourself, without worrying about who accepts or rejects you. True confidence is not built on popularity. It is built on self-acceptance. The moment you stop needing validation from others, you unlock a power that few people ever discover. The power of being secure in who you are, no matter who is watching. Imagine a man who stands alone, not because he has been abandoned, but because he no longer needs the approval of others to feel whole. This is true confidence, and it does not come from the number of friends a man has, the compliments he receives, or the attention he gets. It comes from within. Yet, society conditions us to believe that confidence is something we must seek externally. We are told that if we are liked, accepted, and admired, we will finally feel secure. But this is a lie. The moment your confidence depends on external validation, it is no longer real confidence. It is a performance. Think about it. A man who bases his self-worth on how others perceive him is always vulnerable. He might appear strong, charming, and outgoing, but beneath the surface, his sense of self is fragile. Why? Because he is only as confident as the last compliment he received, the last invitation he got, or the last bit of attention that came his way. If he is praised, he feels good. If he is criticized or ignored, he feels worthless. That is not confidence. That is dependence. True confidence is the opposite. It does not rise and fall based on other people's opinions. It is unshakable because it comes from a deep understanding of who you are. A truly confident man does not ask, "Do they like me?" Instead, he asks, "Do I like myself?" He does not adjust his personality to fit the expectations of others. He does not seek validation from crowds or social circles. He knows that his worth is not something others get to decide. It is something he defines for himself. How does one develop this kind of confidence? It begins with self-awareness. You must take the time to understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your purpose. When you truly know who you are, you stop needing others to tell you. You no longer look outward for answers that can only be found within. Instead of being influenced by every opinion around you, you become anchored in your own truth. The next step is self-acceptance. Most people struggle with confidence not because they are unworthy, but because they have been taught to seek approval before they accept themselves. They wait for someone else to tell them they are good enough before they believe it. But the truth is, no external validation will ever be enough if you don't first accept yourself. Real confidence comes when you stop waiting for permission to be yourself and start owning who you are, flaws, imperfections, and all. Finally, true confidence requires emotional independence. This means learning to stand alone without feeling lonely. It means being comfortable in your own company and trusting your own judgment. When you are emotionally independent, you no longer fear rejection or solitude. You understand that being alone does not mean being weak, it means being self-sufficient. A man who is truly confident does not need applause to know his value. He does not fear solitude because his strength comes from within. This is the kind of confidence that lasts, not the fleeting confidence that fades when the crowd disappears, but the kind that stands firm no matter what. We have been conditioned to fear solitude. From childhood, we are taught that being alone is something to avoid, something unnatural. Society constantly reinforces the idea that happiness comes from being surrounded by people, from always having someone to talk to, from being part of a group. The man who keeps to himself is seen as strange, pitied, or even judged. But what if this belief is entirely wrong? What if solitude is not a sign of weakness, but a source of power? Solitude is often confused with loneliness, but the two could not be more different. Loneliness is a state of feeling disconnected from others, a painful void that comes from craving companionship. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice, a deliberate decision to spend time alone for self-reflection, clarity, and personal growth. It is in solitude that the strongest minds are forged, that the most profound ideas are born, and that a man learns who he truly is, free from the noise of the world. Throughout history, some of the greatest thinkers, leaders, and creators have embraced solitude as a tool for strength. Marcus Aurelius, Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, Henry David Thoreau, these men understood that true wisdom and creativity emerged not from constant socialization, but from moments of deep introspection. They withdrew from the distractions of the world to focus on their thoughts, their work, and their self-development. In solitude, they found insights that changed the world. Yet, most people today are afraid to be alone. They avoid silence, constantly seeking distractions, music, television, social media, endless conversations, anything to escape being with themselves. Why? Because in solitude, we are forced to confront our own thoughts. We come face to face with our fears, our insecurities, our doubts. And for many, this is uncomfortable. But here's the truth: growth is never comfortable. A man who avoids solitude avoids himself. And a man who does not know himself will never be truly secure. When you embrace solitude, something remarkable happens. At first, the silence may feel unsettling. You may feel restless, uneasy, even tempted to run back to the noise. But if you push through, you will begin to hear something you have never truly listened to before: your own voice. Not the voice shaped by society, not the opinions of others, but your own thoughts, your own desires, your own truths. In solitude, you gain clarity. You see yourself not through the distorted lens of social comparison, but through raw honesty. And with this clarity comes power. When you are no longer afraid to be alone, you become unshakable. You stop needing constant validation. You stop fearing rejection. You realize that your happiness does not depend on others. It depends on your ability to be at peace with yourself. The man who embraces solitude does not depend on the world. He builds his own world. A man who can stand alone, without fear, is a man who is truly free. Because in solitude, you do not lose yourself, you find yourself. Many people view solitude as something to be feared, an empty space that must be filled with noise, distractions, or company. But solitude, when embraced, is one of the greatest tools for personal growth. In a world that constantly demands our attention, stepping away from the crowd gives us the rare opportunity to truly understand ourselves. It is in solitude that we break free from external influences, confront our fears, and develop the kind of unshakable confidence that no amount of social validation can provide. At first, embracing solitude can be uncomfortable. We live in a society that glorifies busyness and constant interaction. People fear being alone because it forces them to face what they have been avoiding: self-reflection. When you are alone, there is no one to distract you from your thoughts, no one to validate your choices, no one to mask your insecurities. But this discomfort is exactly why solitude is so powerful. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in stillness, in deep self-exploration, and in the willingness to sit with yourself long enough to hear your own thoughts without interference. One of the greatest benefits of solitude is the clarity it brings. In the presence of others, we often mold ourselves to fit their expectations. We adjust our opinions, modify our behavior, and sometimes even silence our true selves just to belong. But when you are alone, there is no need for pretense. You begin to understand your true desires, your real ambitions, and the things that genuinely bring you fulfillment, not the things society has told you should make you happy. Solitude allows you to strip away the layers of conditioning and ask, "Who am I when no one is watching?" Beyond clarity, solitude also builds resilience. When you stop relying on others for validation, You develop an internal strength that cannot be shaken by external forces. You become comfortable making decisions based on your own judgment. You learn to trust yourself. You stop fearing what others think because your sense of self-worth is no longer in their hands. It is in yours. This emotional independence is what separates those who are truly secure from those who are merely seeking approval. Another crucial aspect of solitude is its ability to foster deep creativity and self-improvement. Some of the greatest artists, thinkers, and innovators have used solitude as a means of unlocking their potential. Without distractions, the mind is free to wander, to imagine, to solve problems in ways that are impossible in a noisy world. When you spend time alone, you can reflect on your past, reassess your present, and create a future that aligns with your true self. Ultimately, embracing solitude is not about rejecting the world. It is about understanding yourself so deeply that when you do engage with others, you do so from a place of confidence and authenticity. A man who has spent time alone, faced his fears, and cultivated his own identity does not seek validation. He radiates a quiet strength that draws others to him. And in that strength, he discovers what many never will: true freedom. In a world that glorifies popularity, people often believe that the more friends they have, the more successful they are. We are taught to measure social success by the number of people we surround ourselves with. We see individuals with large followings, busy social lives, and countless connections, and we assume they are the happiest. But what if that belief is false? What if true happiness and security are not found in having a wide social network, but in cultivating deep, meaningful relationships with a select few? A man who is truly secure does not measure his worth by how many friends he has. Instead, he understands the value of quality over quantity. He does not waste time maintaining shallow connections that add nothing to his life. He knows that one genuine friendship is worth more than 100 surface-level acquaintances. Many people fail to realize that a large social circle does not necessarily mean deep support. When life gets difficult, most of those people will disappear. But a few strong, trusted relationships can provide the kind of loyalty and understanding that no amount of popularity can replace. Think of friendships like water sources. A large, shallow pond might cover a lot of ground, but it evaporates quickly under pressure. Meanwhile, a deep well may be small, but it is reliable, providing sustenance when it is needed most. Most people collect friendships like a pond, wide but shallow, with no real depth. But a wise man invests in a few deep wells, relationships that will sustain him when the rest dry up. True friendships are built on trust, mutual respect, and shared values. These are the people who celebrate your victories without jealousy, challenge you when you need growth, and stand by you when life becomes difficult. They are the ones who see you for who you truly are, not for what you can offer them, not for how much fun you are to be around, but for the person beneath the surface. In their presence, you do not have to pretend, perform, or impress. You are accepted as you are. The problem with chasing a large social circle is that it often forces you to dilute yourself. You spread your energy thin, trying to please everyone. You engage in superficial conversations, attend gatherings out of obligation, and exhaust yourself maintaining relationships that lack real depth. Over time, this lifestyle becomes draining. You begin to feel unseen, unheard, and disconnected, even when surrounded by people. A truly secure man chooses his relationships wisely. He is selective about who he lets into his life because he understands that energy is valuable, and not everyone deserves access to his time and attention. He does not waste time on those who do not align with his values, and he does not fear having a small social circle. He knows that a few strong connections will always outweigh a sea of shallow ones. Ultimately, the goal is not to have as many friends as possible. The goal is to have the right people in your life, people who add value, who inspire growth, and who make you better. Because at the end of the day, a man with a few real friends is far richer than a man surrounded by many who barely know him. Choosing solitude and a small, carefully selected circle of relationships is not a path most people understand. We live in a world that glorifies constant interaction, where being social is seen as a virtue, and being alone is often misinterpreted as loneliness or failure. Society places immense pressure on individuals to conform to the norm, attend gatherings, maintain an active social life, and continuously seek external validation. If you choose otherwise, if you decide to step back and embrace solitude, people will question you. They will wonder why you don't surround yourself with a crowd, why you prefer quiet over chaos, why your phone isn't constantly buzzing with invitations. They may even assume something is wrong with you. But here's the truth: a man who is truly secure in himself does not seek validation from a world that misunderstands him. He does not feel the need to explain his choices to those who will never understand. He knows that strength is not found in how well he conforms to societal expectations, but in how well he remains true to himself. The world conditions people to fear solitude because solitude forces self-reflection, and self-reflection leads to self-awareness. And a self-aware man is not easy to manipulate. When you no longer depend on the approval of others, you become free in a way that makes some people uncomfortable. They will try to pull you back into the cycle of social validation because misery loves company. They will tell you that you need to put yourself out there more, that life is meant to be shared, that being alone isn't healthy. But are these statements truly based on wisdom, or are they simply the echoes of a society afraid to sit with itself? To navigate a world that misunderstands your choice, you must first develop inner resilience. You need to become so confident in your own path that the noise of the outside world no longer sways you. This begins with self-awareness, knowing why you choose solitude, understanding the benefits it brings, and recognizing how it strengthens you. When you are clear about your reasons, external opinions lose their power. Next, you must learn to set boundaries. Not everyone will understand your choice, and that's okay. You do not owe explanations to people who do not seek to understand you. If social obligations drain you, decline them without guilt. If shallow connections do not fulfill you, let them go. Choosing solitude does not mean rejecting people entirely. It means being intentional about who you let into your space. Most importantly, embrace the freedom that comes with solitude. Once you stop seeking approval, you gain control over your life in a way most people never will. You make decisions based on your own needs, not the expectations of others. You develop emotional independence, becoming someone who stands strong regardless of who stands with you. The world may never fully understand a man who chooses solitude. But that is their limitation, not yours. A secure man does not live for the acceptance of others. He lives for the peace and strength that come from knowing himself. A truly strong man is not the one who commands the biggest crowd, nor the one with the loudest voice in the room. He is the one who walks alone without fear, who stands firm in his convictions, and who does not bend to the expectations of others. Society often associates strength with dominance, charisma, or influence over people, but real strength, the kind that is unshakable, comes from within. A secure man is one who does not rely on external approval, social validation, or constant reassurance to know his worth. His foundation is built on something far stronger: self-awareness, inner peace, and emotional independence. A secure man does not seek to impress others because he has nothing to prove. He does not chase validation because he already validates himself. He does not fear solitude because he has mastered the ability to be his own source of strength. He is like a mountain, steady, immovable, and resilient in the face of shifting circumstances. While others look outward for security, he looks inward. He knows that no amount of friendships, relationships, or public admiration can replace the confidence that comes from truly knowing oneself. One of the greatest strengths of a secure man is his emotional independence. He does not allow others to dictate his emotions or determine his value. He understands that if his happiness depends on the approval of others, then he is giving them control over his life. Instead, he cultivates an inner world that is untouchable by external circumstances. When people come and go, he remains steady. When opinions change, he is unaffected. When society pressures him to conform, he does not waver. Because he is self-sufficient, a secure man is also selective with his energy. He does not waste time on meaningless connections or shallow interactions. He does not engage in relationships that drain him or seek approval from people who add no value to his life. Instead, he surrounds himself with those who challenge him, who bring depth to his world, and who see him for who he truly is, not just for what he can offer. He understands that real relationships are built on respect, trust, and mutual understanding, not convenience or numbers. A secure man also stands firm in his values. While others may compromise their beliefs for acceptance, he refuses to sacrifice his integrity. He does not change himself to fit in because he has no need to. He speaks with honesty, acts with purpose, and lives with intention. His confidence does not come from arrogance, but from an unshakable sense of self-respect. The world often mistakes this kind of quiet strength for indifference. But make no mistake, a secure man is not indifferent. He is simply free. Free from the need for validation, free from the fear of being alone, free from the expectations that keep so many people trapped. The strongest man is the one who can stand alone and still feel whole. Because a man who does not need the world's approval has already won. What if everything you've been told about success, confidence, and happiness has been wrong? From the moment we are born, we are taught that our worth is measured by how many people surround us, how many friends we have, how well we fit into society's expectations. But the truth is, real strength has nothing to do with the size of your social circle. It has everything to do with the depth of your self-awareness. A man who relies on external validation will always be at the mercy of others, but a man who finds security within himself is unshakable. Now, the challenge is yours. Are you willing to embrace solitude? Are you willing to step away from the noise, the distractions, and the pressure to conform, and truly sit with yourself? It will not be easy. At first, you may feel uncomfortable. You may hear doubts whispering, telling you that you need approval, that you need validation, that you are nothing without the acceptance of others. But those are lies, the lies that have kept so many trapped in insecurity. The moment you push past that discomfort, you will discover a power that few ever find, the ability to stand alone and still feel whole. Embracing solitude does not mean rejecting the world. It means mastering the art of being enough on your own. It means choosing quality over quantity in your relationships, valuing depth over popularity, and refusing to let your self-worth be dictated by anyone but yourself. In solitude, you do not lose yourself, you find yourself. So I ask you again, do you have the courage to walk alone? Because in doing so, you may just find the greatest strength of all, the power of being truly, unapologetically secure.